All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another live stream here with me today. We're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on in the market. I'm going to get everything pulled up here and get some things ready to go for us. We're going to have a little sneak peek on what's happening with population here in Utah. We're going to be talking a little bit about new development, and we're also going to be talking about how much home sales have actually dropped in the last little bit here. So we've seen some pretty big changes. I've actually got a full dedicated video coming out in about probably early next week on our Tuesday 5 p.m. Mountain Time time slot. And we're going to be discussing what is exactly happening in the real estate market. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in here. And I want to talk a little bit about these things here. So let's jump over here. Let me go to settings. We'll share my screen. Here we go. All right, perfect. All right, guys. So yeah, let me make this a little bigger. That works great. So first thing I want to talk about is the 4 South transformation project. This is the 156 unit project that is coming. They're going to be tearing down a burrito place. It's called Beto's. And they're going to be putting this new apartment building here in the next little bit. So let's jump in here and take a look at this. So Locals Right Development Group has submitted a proposal for a 7-story, 83-foot single-use, 156 unit market rate apartment building at 4th East and 4th South. Man, that's a mouthful right there. This is going to replace the 1-story drive-through Mexican restaurant whose burritos have satisfied many a late-night reveler in the city's east central neighborhood. So right here along 4th South, there's a ton of apartment buildings going in, and further up the way, you've got, restaurants, you've got shopping, you've got a lot of the amenities that you need on a regular day-to-day basis. So this kind of outlines where the project is going. If I zoom in a little bit, probably makes it better. So you've already got apartments here. You've got apartment building here. You've got these brand new ones here. There's more here, basically all over the place. There's apartments here already. So you can kind of see that there's a building here. They're basically going to be tearing that down and putting in another 156 units to fill that space. There's the rendering of it. You can see it here in this area. So it's going to fit in with the neighborhood. It's going to be more housing units. It is the best use of the land, in my opinion. These things are going to happen as growth continues to happen. They're basically trading in one business, which is unfortunate for that business, but going to be able to add 156 new housing units downtown that are, much needed to help help try to keep things more affordable. So you do have these apartments here. They have this like Starbucks drive-through right here. I think this is actually attached to this building on the left-hand side here, but then you've got the restaurant that's right here. They're going to be tearing that down, getting rid of the billboard, and basically putting this building up right here. Now, there is going to be some parking that goes along with this. Here's some more renderings for us to just kind of click through real quick so you can see the apartment building, which is pretty cool. It gives you a full outline. And this is going to be a 5/2 structure with 3 levels of parking. So they're basically saying one's underground. You're going to have 2 levels above ground that are supposed to be parking. And then you're going to have the 5 stories above that for the actual housing unit. So it's going to provide 153 stalls for the project's 156 units. So almost every single unit will have a parking space. Now, these are going to be mostly studios and 1-bedrooms, but there are going to be 14 2-bedroom dwellings here in this project. So something that's kind of interesting there. Just want to share that with everybody real quick. We're going to talk a little bit more about population, and we're also going to talk about this Utah Metro, which saw the nation's biggest drop in sales. So let's start here with the population, and let's talk a little bit about what's going on with Utah's population. So Utah experiences the largest population spike in 16 years. Here's where people are moving. So we come down here. Oh man, this didn't save my highlights, but that's okay. This is actually a different article than the one I was reading prior to this. That's interesting. Yeah, so let's jump over here and just kind of read through this. So you just take a trip down into the Utah Valley and you'll see the cranes. New buildings are taking place. It's happening right in front of us. We have a front row seat to the growth that is taking place. That's because Utah County is once again at the center of the state's growth in 2022, adding 23,980 people, which was more than double any other county in the past year. Overall, Utah's estimated population skyrocketed by a little more than 61,000 people between July of 2021 and July of 2022, marking the state's largest spike in absolute growth since 2006. So this has actually happened before, which is actually kind of interesting. Despite everything that's been going on, all the changes, a lot of people moving into the state, we have actually seen this prior, about 16 years ago, it said. This pushes the state's population to a little bit more than 3.4 million people. The report also notes that all of Utah counties grew over the past year, aside for one, which declined by 6 people here in Daggett County. The state's population rise is a mixture of net migration and natural increase. So there was an estimated 38,141 people who moved into the state after accounting for how many people moved out of the state, right? So there was probably more people who moved in, but there was going to be people who left, and the net migration was 38,000 people, which is really pretty crazy if you think about it. That's a lot of people. I've had many people like yourselves who are watching these videos, reach out to me and say that, hey, I'm moving there, I need some help, whatever. But this is, we've just scratched the surface. I've probably had hundreds of people reach out, but still there's 38,000 people or more, probably closer to 50 or 60,000 people who actually moved in. So it's pretty crazy to see, for me, having had such a front row seat to this whole thing is pretty crazy. Also, real quick, guys, if you have questions, let me know. I've also got this pulled up on my phone here just to come through this. Unfortunately, Betos has to go. And Ricardo, what's up, man? Good evening. Good to see you guys. If you guys have questions, just drop it in the comment section. I've got it pulled up. And we can also look at it here, and it will pull up. Let's see. I want this one right here. There we go. Yeah, that way I can answer any questions you might have as we kind of go through this. The other thing I want to talk about here, natural increase, which is the childbirths versus the deaths that we've had in the state, accounted for another 23,101 residents. So that's pretty crazy that there's that many babies being born. It's pretty crazy, especially when you factor out that that's the net number, subtracting out how many people passed away. So this shows that Utah is a magnet, attracting people from outside of it to move in. In fact, the state's net migration levels are the highest demographers have ever seen since the World War II in the 1940s. We did see a similar high in 2005. This is actually a little bit higher than that. But yeah, if you look at the outside of the post-World War II era, we're hitting the peak right now. So this is pretty crazy. It says this decade best growth could be short-lived. However, rising interest rates, shifts in the labor market, and supply shortages that are slowing down home construction since July could curb some of the numbers between 2022 and 2023. There's going to be less people who are moving into the state just because of, more people going back to the office, construction slowing down. I don't think it's going to be supply shortages or anything like that. There's still plenty of homes out there for people to purchase. I think it's simply just the fact that, people are not as many people are in a position where they can make that move and have that full remote work, like we saw a lot of over the last couple of years. If we take a look here, I think this is actually a really interesting graphic right here. So Utah County was up 39.2% as far as the population. Most of the growth that happened there, they actually had a 39% share of that. Salt Lake had 16% share. Davis County was 9.3%. Washington was 7%. And then you have Cache and Weber counties. These are up north. And then you have the rest of these counties here that still ended up growing by a small percentage. So most of the growth is happening here along the Wasatch Front. Washington and I guess you'd say Cache as well are not technically in the Wasatch Front here, but there's still quite a bit of growth that's happening in these areas. So Utah County's estimated population is now up to 707,000 people overall, which is crazy because I know that growing up here, Utah County was like 300,000 when I was a kid. So it's pretty crazy to see that jump. And Salt Lake County is now sitting at roughly 1.2 million residents, which sounds like a lot of people, but that is actually still quite small compared to a lot of other major cities. I've got, realtor friends in these other cities who, are in cities of 5 million or even 10 million people, maybe not 10 million, but 6 or 7 million people in their metro area. And it's just crazy to see that, I can't imagine there being 5 times as many people here in our state if we were that big. So that's pretty crazy. So that kind of wraps up this article here. You can see that there's a lot of additional information here that you can scroll through. We're not going to cover all this here in today's article, but most of that growth is happening in Utah County. Eagle Mountain is a super popular area right here. This is basically just stating that, hey, a lot of that growth is happening in Eagle Mountain. It's a prime example of what's still waiting on the horizon. It held a population estimated just shy of 50,000, but the city has about as many building permits currently in the works as it has buildings right now. So they're basically saying, hey, we're going to double the amount of buildings from what we're working on right now, which is going to be crazy. So in the next 3 to 5 years, that's where they'll be at. Lehigh, Vineyard, and Saratoga Springs are also growing at extensional rates, and there are no signs of that stopping anytime soon. Salt Lake County, while more built out than Utah County, also has room to grow. State officials just celebrated the start of tearing down the old Utah State Prison in Draper this week, which will pave the way for the 600-acre development known as The Point. And in Salt Lake City, buildings are growing taller. I actually want to check this out. I didn't know that they had started this. Wow, this is pretty crazy. They're actually tearing down the prison in Draper. This is something we've talked about here a couple times on the channel, talking about how they're going to be doing this because they just finished building a new prison out by the airport, actually, to provide easier access to downtown and also just get out, get rid of the prison here in this, in this part of town that was, has been such an eyesore. A lot of people have said, hey, Draper is such a nice area. Why is there a prison right in the middle of the city? So they're finally, bringing that down, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, we're going to see some big growth, happening here in this area over the next, I'd say probably 5 to 10 years. It's probably going to take them a couple months to get everything torn down and everything cleared out. And once they do that, then they'll be able to start planning and probably start building, I don't know, maybe as early as the end of next year. We'll see, but it's a pretty massive change to see this coming. The development framework was approved by the Land Authority in 2021, and details about the first phase of redevelopment are expected to be made public in the next few weeks. So we do have that information coming, which is pretty crazy to see. So that's really exciting. Now let's jump over here and talk a little bit about the market, guys. If you guys have questions about the market, let me know. I would love to answer any questions that you may have. But I want to cover this article here, which is basically stating which metro area saw the biggest decline of home sales month over month. So if we actually come down here, this one's got the highlights on it. Out of the 53 markets, sorry guys, something in my throat. Out of the 53 markets surveyed by Remax, Salt Lake City stands out for multiple metrics. It has the biggest year-over-year decline in closed transactions. It was also among the top 5 markets with the biggest increase to days on market and months supply of inventory. If the number of homes that are going up on the market increases, you should also expect to see that the days on market will increase as long as that demand drops, and that's going to therefore increase that month's supply of inventory. So what I have highlighted here in green is not as much of a large factor as I think a lot of people make it out to be. It's still a data point that they track, but it's not as significant as closed transaction or price, of course, right? So they're saying that Salt Lake City stands out, having the biggest year-over-year decline. We'll take a look at that a little bit more here in just a second. Salt Lake City saw the number one biggest decline in home sales with a 48.3% year-over-year drop in closed transactions. In October, the metro area saw 903 transactions, which was down from 1,747 just a year ago. Las Vegas was second, and San Diego came in third with a 42% drop. Portland looks like it was fourth, and then Phoenix was fifth. Here at 39.3%. So a lot of Western states here, or a lot of Western metro markets. I'm sure Boise is up there as well. It doesn't mention it here, but I'm sure that they're in a very similar spot. A lot of these big Western cities are starting to see the market cool off, which is interesting because actually the Midwest states and even some of the Southern states are still, going really strong. It's actually kind of crazy to see the type of growth and demand that there still is in a lot of areas, right? It's all location based. Salt Lake City ranked number 4 with the biggest year-over-year increase to days on market with 41 days in October, which is up from 23 days in the previous year. Salt Lake City has also seen a staggering increase in month supply of inventory, ranking number 2 in the nation for the biggest year-over-year percentage change. So this is the information we're looking at here. the Salt Lake City metro area saw the biggest drop in sales. I want to actually jump over here and take a look at these statistics. I've actually got a full video coming out on this on Tuesday, going in depth about this information, but you'll get a little sneak peek here. If you're watching this live video, you'll get some upfront information about what's going on here in the market. So let me zoom out here a little bit so we can make this better. All right, so we're here in November of 2022. We finished the month with 2,171 sales. We had a median sales price of 480,000, and homes were selling on average for about 8% less than what they were listed for. So that gives you a good gauge. If you're a buyer out there in the market right now, you're going to be able to go in and negotiate very, very aggressively against the seller and be able to put together an offer that should be in your favor, right? You should be able to negotiate, some homes you might only be able to negotiate 5%, maybe it's 7%. It could be even, 9 or 12% off of that listing price. It really just depends on the home. It depends on how high they're listed, right? If they're just if they're just way too high on their list price, maybe they're at 750 and they really need to be at 700. You might be able to negotiate even further. Maybe you negotiate them down to like 650 or even 625, right? And so you kind of have to bring them back into reality with the seller. And that's something that I've been doing a lot of recently is, going to sellers and actually approaching them saying, hey, look, you guys are way overpriced based on the market. We're going to make an offer, but we're not going to be anywhere near the asking price that you want for this property. So you can definitely negotiate very aggressively if you're a buyer, especially if you're patient. If you don't get emotionally attached to a home, you're going to have a lot more leverage and you're going to be able to kind of wait it out and figure out when that deal is going to come along for you as the buyer. If you're a little bit flexible on homes, right? So looking at this, for the month of November, we did see a month-over-month decline of about 20%, going from 2,600 sales in October to just under 2,200 sales in November, which is also a massive drop from September of this year as well. We went from 3,500 sales to 2,100 sales. So I think that's like almost a 40% drop, if my math is correct there. So a pretty massive drop in the number of sales that are happening. If we compare this again to last year, sales were pretty steady through this time. We did see a little bit of a slowdown, but that's, basically just because of seasonality. Kids are going back to school. It's starting to get cold. We got the holidays rolling around, so we do expect that home sales will drop going into these winter months, but not by how much they have dropped. We're at 4,500, 4,300, and then 4,200 this same time last year. So if you actually look at that data month over month, and this is for the whole market, right? So this is for Salt Lake County, Utah County, Davis, Weber. This is the entire MLS market, which covers basically all of northern Utah, a little bit of southern Utah, and other markets like such as Moab or some of these smaller areas overall. So, looking at this, to see the sales go from, let's see, 4,236 in November to drop down. What if we do that? 2171 divided by 4,236. I mean, that's a 51%. That's almost half. So sales have dropped 50%, which is much more than what we actually saw from this article. This article here was put out in November, November 22nd. So the November data wasn't quite out yet, but they're basically saying that Salt Lake saw the drop of 48.3% year over year. So, we're even higher than that now. We're actually over to, let's see, where am I trying to go? Right. That's where I'm trying to go. So we're over 50% drop from November of last year to November of this year. And if we go back to, pre-COVID times, because I think that's a good gauge of what is happening in a normal market. If we go back to 2018, we were at 3,500 sales, 3,300 in December, 2,500 in January. So sales were, still up quite a bit in this time frame. There was still real estate trading hands. Even if we look at 2019, same thing here. October 4,400 and then down to 3,700 in November and 3,700 in December. So, kind of the same story here. And it's crazy to look at how slowly the prices actually increased. If you come back here to November, we were at a median sales price of 300,000 in November 2018. And by November that following year, we were only up to 323. So prices went up, a good chunk, $23,000. But if you compare to what happened the following year, prices went up over $50,000 there. And then they went up almost $90,000 by November of this year. And then it slowed down significantly again going into this year of 2022. finishing out November at a $480,000 median sales price. So guys, this kind of wraps up what I wanted to chat about here today. I'm going to jump over here. We're going to see if we have any questions, comments. Let's jump over here. We do have one. All right. What would I recommend near the airport for under 400,000? That's a great question. Let me pull up a map here and we'll actually take a look at this together, because if you're looking for something around the airport, you do have to be careful. So I want to pull up this map here. I'll share my screen here in just a second. All right, so let me pull this up. Come back here. There we go. Okay, so this is the airport right here. You've got downtown over here on the right-hand side. Let me zoom in a little bit more. So you've got the airport up here, and then you've got Salt Lake City over here, University of Utah. If you look at the map, and the new prison is out this way. Actually, I don't know exactly where it is. It might be right here, but anyway, just a little point of information there. So if you come down here to the south, you can see that this entire section is basically like warehouse space, right? You have these massive warehouses in this part of town. This is considered Glendale. So it's a very blue collar warehouse manufacturing type of spot. And that's primarily because you've got I-80 right here, which obviously comes in from the Bay Area in California and will continue eastward. So if you've got goods, that need to be transported, they come across on I-80 and then they get changed hands, they get moved to a new truck, and then they'll either go north, they'll go south down to, like, let's say Vegas or to Phoenix, or they'll continue east if they're going to Colorado or the East Coast or something, right? So you have all of these manufacturing areas right here. So to answer your question, you said under 400,000, I think, yeah, under 400K. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to find single family home at that price range. It can be done for sure. But you'll want to be a little bit particular about the neighborhood that you end up in. So what I'd recommend is you could come out here to Magna. Magna is kind of an older part of town. It was kind of an old mining town, actually, but it is going through a ton of revitalization. There's actually quite a bit of new construction going in here in this area of Magna. You can see all these new roads right here. There's going to be new houses here. There'll be more houses over here. And then even in these little zones like this, there's going to be more houses, being put in here to fill in this, this like farmland or whatever it might be. So this is what you're going to see in Magna. So that would be one option. You could also go over here to West Valley, which is just going to be directly south of the airport. If you're looking, let's see. So yep, airport's right here. You could come over here into West Valley. You could stay downtown. The good thing about this is it's fairly easy to get around town. So even if you're looking, to make a move to the area and you want to be close to the airport, even if you lived down here, like let's say in Midvale, you're only about a probably 15, maybe 20-minute drive to the airport, depending on how close you are to the freeway, to get there from Midvale. So you just, jump on I-15 right here and then take 215 around. And then this takes you directly to the airport. So, it's fairly easy to get around if you're trying to get to the airport, even if you're down here on the south end, which would be more expensive than 400,000. But from here, you're only about a maybe 30-minute drive to the airport. So great question there. So let me come back over here, see if we have any other questions. I don't see any other question, guys. So yeah, I really appreciate everybody tuning in here today. We're going to be trying to make this a regular thing that we're doing here on Thursday nights. We're going to be here at 7:00 Mountain Time. Bring your questions. Let me know what you guys want to chat about. I'm going to bring a couple topics just like I did today, talking about what's going on in the news, stuff that maybe doesn't justify a whole standalone video. But we've got a ton of great videos coming out. We're going to be doing some map tours. We're going to be doing more market updates. We've got a lot of information coming out about what's going on in Utah and what to do in Utah. And there's also going to be, we're probably actually going to start doing some videos on Park City as well. So yeah, if you'd be interested in that, I'd love to hear from anybody. If Park City is a good idea, we might actually launch that on a separate channel, but that information is yet to come. That'll be something we probably roll out in the new year. So with that said, guys, really appreciate everybody jumping on here with me on a Thursday night. My pleasure to chat with you guys. If you have questions, reach out to me, call, text, or email as always. You can find my information in the description box below. Call, text, or email, and I'd love to hear from you and talk to you about your individual specific situation. I've had a lot of people asking me, hey, should I buy right now? Should I sell right now? And, I just try to tell it straight. If you're looking at the market right now thinking, hey, what should I do? I'd love to kind of give you my advice. I think for some people, it still makes sense to buy. I think there's going to be other people out there as well who, might be better off waiting a couple months or even, 6 months to a year, just depending on your situation, to make that purchase. At the end of the day, even with the higher interest rates, purchasing can still make sense. You get a lot of the tax benefits. You get to have your own place. You don't have to move. You're not at the mercy of a landlord. There are benefits to it, but at the same time, there are benefits to renting. It's going to be cheaper to rent right now. Renting a place is probably going to save you, I don't know, maybe $500 a month, but that might be the difference of how much you'd pay off on your mortgage each month if you bought something, right? So, it's kind of a wash as far as that's concerned a little bit, but there are benefits to renting. It's going to be a little bit cheaper. You're going to have the flexibility. You're going to be able to, if you're moving in from out of state, you're going to have the ability to figure out what area you want to live in. You move here, you stay, you rent for a while, and then, start looking at places, looking at cities and areas that you want to be. And then you'll have a better idea of where you want to purchase. So there are pros and cons to both sides. If you're a seller in this market, we should definitely chat. I think that there's actually, if you're a seller right now, you should probably be looking to sell your home as soon as possible, because I think prices are going to continue to come down. And I talked about this in the market update video that's coming on Tuesday. So make sure to check that out. I talked about it in depth, but I think that prices will continue to slowly come down. And I think the interest rates are going to stay at the level they're at, possibly higher, maybe a little bit lower, but I doubt it. I think the interest rates are probably here to stay at least at this level for the next 6 to 12 months at least. So if you're looking at selling your home, you're probably better off to get it on the market as soon as possible, just to try and make something happen. But yeah, that kind of wraps up what I wanted to chat about here today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support here on the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys. We've got another video coming out tomorrow, 5 o'clock Mountain Time, and then that regular video on Tuesday at 5 o'clock Mountain Time as well. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you later.